Why do you care about that old book? Just because they have a nuclear sub off the shore and a Russian nuclear sub? What's so funny about it? While such questions are posed, actually they can be countered with others. American communists, mostly the intellectually minded sons of middle-class or lower-middle-class families, complain about the spiritual poverty of the masses. Well, yeah, it sort of gives me an opportunity to complain since I'm from the middle class. Or you could argue I'm the lower class, I guess, about the spiritual poverty. And I'm spiritually poor. I'm going to read from The Captive Mind. They do not realize, however, that the imperium they pine for is a combination of material poverty and lack of technology, plus Stalinism. The thing is, we're going to go to Amish country, and today, I think, they have a lack of technology, but actually they may have good technology to making their cheese and their chocolate, but they wouldn't have Stalinism. Nor do they realize how fascinating it might be to try to imagine a combination of prosperity and technology plus Stalinism. So are you adding Putinism? Or the new man of the Imperium is being remolded under the slogan of the struggle against poverty, which is simultaneously induced and conquered, and the advancement of technology, which is simultaneously demolished and rebuilt. Yeah, so I can both smash up and by turning off my phone and returning it on and doing a podcast. The new man of the Imperium. I could be a new man by doing meditation. If these two powerful motives were absent, what would happen? One suspects that the wheels of the gigantic machine would then turn in a vacuum. Gigantic machine. The stage of fully realized communism is the Holy of Holies. Well, yeah, the stage, they never reached that holy stuff of the realized communism. It is heaven, and it turned out not to be heaven. So heaven is actually just heaven, which you reach by meditation, and it's not realized communism. My God. One dare not direct one's eyes towards it, yet if one dared to visualize that paradise, he would find it not unlike the United States in periods of full employment. Oh, okay, so when they have periods of full employment in the United States, that's more like heaven. He would find granting the alleviation of fear, which is improbable. The masses living physiologically profiting from the material achievements of their civilization. But their spiritual development would meet an insuperable obstacle in a doctrine which considers its aim to be the liberation of man from material cares towards something which it itself defines as sheer nonsense. These are utopian considerations which Western communists may avoid, but their Eastern brothers do not. I remember one who said, I do not want to live to see communism realized. It would probably be so boring. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I get kind of bored by the whole thing, and the funny thing is, I don't find this book boring, actually. Though it is kind of debunking, and it's kind of attacking totalitarianism, and I thought it was a Nobel Prize winning book. Yeah. I don't know what to see, live to see, communism realized. It would probably be so boring. Well, yeah, it would have been boring, and it has been boring. And, you're bored? Yeah. Well, reading like Das Kapital of Marx is probably boring. Yeah. So don't read it if you don't want to be bored. Okay. When the great re-educational task is accomplished and the hated metaphysical being in man is utterly crushed, what will remain? Well, I'm working on the metaphysical being in man in Sufism, and my concern is the metaphysical being in man not being utterly crushed. So we're going to elevate the metaphysical man. Oh, you're looking into meditation, yeah. It is doubtful whether party imitations of Christian liturgy. Yeah, they kind of imitate Christian liturgy in North Korea, and they have these big party meetings and stuff. And mass-like rites performed before portraits of the leaders will give the people perfect satisfaction. Yeah, I haven't learned. You could learn how to appear to be satisfied if you watch those videos of North Korea when the leader goes by. You can learn how to look satisfied. Yeah, how do they do that so well, where they look like they're happy? Are they really happy? Well, if I was in North Korea and a leader walked by, I would have to smile, and I would have to put on my happy face. So, oh, you're happy in his presence, like a religion or something, like a... Yeah, it's like Christian liturgy. You have to smile in church, too. People will smile at each other, and they'll say, God bless you, stuff like that. More than the West imagines, the intellectuals of the East look to the West for something, nor do they seek it in Western propaganda. The something they look for is a great new podcaster or writer like myself. The something they look for is a great new writer, a new social philosophy, an artistic movement, a scientific discovery, new principles of painting or music. Yeah. They want me to put out some new principle of music, and they rarely find this something. They rarely find this something. And the people of the East have already become accustomed to thinking of art and society on an organizational and mass scale. Yeah, they can't think for themselves. They've been brainwashed to thinking. You have to be an org person. You have to be organized, and you have to be part of the system. You can't be an individual. Okay. On a mass scale, the only forms of culture in the West which attain such a scale are movies, bestsellers, and illustrated magazines. They have now the Planet of the Apes, the movie, and Ferocia. They have like a revival of, oh God, what's the name of that? They have the Planet of the Apes. So what more could you want? Yeah, I want to see the Planet of the Apes. Well, are you feel like an ape or something? Yeah, well, I could feel apish at times. And no thinking person in the West takes most of these means of mass recreation seriously. Yeah, well, I'm a thinking person, so I don't actually take any of these means of mass recreation seriously. Oh, you don't take it seriously. No. I don't actually have a TV, and it's very rare that I go to a movie. But you take playing pickleball seriously, and you liked it. You played in Willard, and yeah, I played. There was really a cool kind of aggressive group, and they were rotating very nicely, and it's become my new liturgical religion. Pickleball? What? Well, is that the something you were looking for? No thinking person in the West takes most of these means of recreation seriously. Whereas in the East, where everything has a mass character, they take on the dignity of being the sole representatives of the decadent culture of the West. Yeah, so they want to become the sole representatives of the decadent culture of the West. If they could become the sole one, like... It is easy to sneer at most films, novels, or articles, to say nothing of the fact that one is well paid for such criticism, and that releases one from the more painful obligation of writing enthusiastically about the center. Hence, it is the pet activity of most Eastern journalists, and the influence of that sort of criticism has on its public is considerable. Yeah. The real cultural life of the West is very different. Yeah, what is the real cultural life? Well, they actually had a cultural life back in the 50s, probably, when they wrote this book, but I don't know. What's the real cultural life in the West now? The funny thing is, they had gotten out of school, and what happened is they did graduation, and all the students left from Oberlin, and I looked for something cultural going on after, and there was nothing. What? Nothing going on? No. There's absolutely nothing. What? Yeah, well, they do have the Baroque Performance Institute starting in the latter part of June, but there was really nothing. Oh, there'll be something. There's still real cultural life in the West, like Baroque music. But even there, the Eastern intellectual stumbles upon treacherous appearances, for he finds both imitation and innovation, decadence and vigor, advertised mediocrity, and imperfectly recognized greatness. What is advertised mediocrity? The social and intellectual currents which he knows from his pre-war trips to the West continue to exist, and arouse his impatience as the products of a stage he has left behind. Still, these are the aspects that attract his attention, and not the new creative forces sending up shots amid a forest of dead trees. Yeah. The funny thing is, they have axe throwing, like, that's cultural. What's that? They call it Hatchet Club, like, and if you go to, like, some town, and you go to Amish country, and they have hatchet throwing. What's that? I mean, axe throwing? Yeah. Well, they have, it's actually in Sugar Creek Hatchet Club, and it's axe throwing. Why do you consider that culture, and why would you go there? Why don't you just get an axe and throw it? Yeah. Well, yeah, I suppose I could buy an axe and throw it, and then I could shoot up among a forest of dead trees. Okay, then do it. Well, yeah, I'm gonna do it. All right? So, I'm doing it. He would find granting the alleviation of fear, which is improbable, the masses living physiologically, profiting from the material achievements of their civilization, but their spiritual development would need an insuperable obstacle in a doctrine which considers its aim to be the liberation of man from the material cares towards something which it itself defines as sheer nonsense. Yeah. These are utopian considerations which Western communists may avoid, but their Eastern brothers do not. I remember one who said, "I do not want to live to see communism realized. It would probably be boring." Yeah, well, it can be boring. When the great re-educational task is accomplished and the hated metaphysical being in man is utterly crushed, what will remain? It is doubtful whether party imitations of Christian liturgy and mass-like rites performed like before preachers of the widow will give the people perfect satisfaction. More than the West imagines, the intellectuals of the East look to the West for something. I want something. Nor do they seek it in Western propaganda. The something they look for is a great new podcaster, a great new writer, a new social philosophy, an artistic movement, a scientific discovery, new principles of painting or music. They rarely find this something. Trying to find something. The people of the East have already become accustomed to thinking of art and society on an organizational and mass scale. The only forms of culture in the West which attain such scale are movies. Yeah. Why are you only attaining it in movies? Well, yeah. No thinking person in the West takes most of these means as mass recreation seriously, whereas in the East, where everything has a mass character, they take on the dignity of being the sole representatives of the decadent culture of the West. It is easy to sneer at films and novels and articles, to say nothing of the fact that one is well paid for such criticism and that it releases one from the more painful obligation of writing enthusiastically about the center. I don't know if I can get enthusiastic about center politics. Yeah, but they're not enthusiastic. That's why you have the right and the left. Whence it is the pet activity of most Eastern journalists and the influence that this sort of criticism has on his public is considerable. The real cultural life of the West is very different. What is the real cultural life? Is it in this podcast? But even there, the Eastern intellectual stumbles upon tremendous appearances, for he finds both imitation and innovation, decadence and vigor, advertised mediocrity, and imperfectly recognized greatness. The social and intellectual currents which he knows from his pre-war trips to the West continue to exist and arouse his impatience as the products of the stage he has left behind. Still, these are the aspects that attract his attention. Yeah, you would think they would become attracted, like the Russians now would want to be attracted to the West, and not the new creative forces sending up shots amid a forest of dead trees. Yeah, well, I do have a bunch of 22 shells. I have like 500. What am I going to do with those 522 shells? And are you going to shoot your gun, or what are you going to do? The gravest reproach leveled against Western culture is that it is exclusive and inaccessible to the masses. Well, it's true that my podcasts have been exclusive and inaccessible to the masses, I suppose. This reproach is largely valid. Yeah, it's largely valid. Poetry, painting, and even music, shutting themselves up in ivory towers. Yeah, they've been in ivory towers, the poetry and stuff, becomes susceptible to numerous stylistic maladies. Yeah, they become susceptible to numerous stylistic melodies is the problem. At the same time, however, their link with the everyday life of the people is considerably stronger than it seems to be at first glance. For example, avant-garde painting, which is so difficult and obscure, reaches a tremendous number of people through its influence on advertising, dress design, stage sets, interior decoration, most importante of all, perhaps on the shape of universally used machines. Yeah, I didn't know that avant-garde painting actually had any impact. That's kind of news to me. I thought it was useless stuff. Oh. So it's not completely useless. You've been to the modern art section of the museum. In comparison to this, the Soviet Empire style. There's a Soviet Empire style. Yeah. They like that stuff. The Soviet Empire, which is based on the painting on huge canvases of groups of dignitaries standing about in various positions and poses, and is completely severed from everyday life. Yeah, and the Empire style is completely severed from everyday life, like the current art in Russia. By destroying all experimentation in art, the center confined its applied art, if one can speak of its existence at all, to a clumsy imitation of Western applied art, which, however, is constantly renewed under the influence of experimental easel painting. When the cult of ugliness... yeah, there is a cult of ugliness. Things can get ugly in this podcast. The cult of ugliness reigns in painting or sculpture. What they did is they thought it was cool to be ugly, and they started painting ugly stuff. Yeah. When the cult of ugliness reigns in painting or sculpture, and any I like beautiful paintings. I like a beautiful scene or something. A beautiful woman or a beautiful landscape, or I like a sculpture of maybe Aphrodite or something that's beautiful, but the cult of ugliness I don't like. When the cult of ugliness reigns in painting and sculpture, and any daring passes as formalism, then applied art cut off from its roots is bound to prove sterile. So that it's proven to be sterile. The multicolored setting of Western life is subject to the law of osmosis. The average citizen of the West has no idea that a painter in a garret, a little-known musician, or a writer, or of an unintelligible verse is a magician who shapes all those things in life which he prizes. Government officials give little thought to such matters as they consider them a waste of time. Yeah, they all think it's a waste of time, so... Since it is not a planned economy, the Western state cannot come to the aid of people working in the various arts. They go on, each pursuing his own chimera, and sometimes dying of hunger. While nearby wealthy men, not knowing what to do with their money, spend it on the latest whims of their benighted souls. A lot of these people with the money, they don't know what to do with it, and they buy this cult of ugliness art as an investment. Okay. This order of things revolts a person from the East, and it's really revolting. If you're a person from the East, you find it revolting. In this country, anyone who displays any talent is used. In the West, the same man would have very little chance of success. Western economy squanders talent to an incredible degree, and the few who do succeed owe their success does often to pure luck as to native ability. In the countries of the new faith, the counterpart to this waste lies in the fact that the capacity to follow the political line is a selective criterion by which the most mediocre often attain the greatest renown. Nevertheless, the artist or scholar in the East earns his living more easily than his colleague in the West, even though the pressure of the method is burdensome, its material compensations are not to be scorned. Many musicians, painters, and writers who had the opportunity to flee to the West did not do so because they felt it was better to compose, paint, or write somehow or other rather than teach or work in a factory with no time or energy left in which to perfect their true craft. Many of those who were abroad returned to their own countries chiefly for this reason. They did. Oh my God. Fear of the indifference with which the economic system of the West treats artists and scholars is widespread among Eastern intellectuals. They say it is better to deal with an intelligent devil than a good-natured idiot. Yeah, I don't know. I would rather deal with a good-natured idiot myself. And I am a good-natured idiot. Okay, they say it is better to deal with an intelligent devil than with a good-natured idiot. An intelligent devil understands their mutual interests and lives somewhat by a pen or chisel or brush and caring for his clients and making his demands. A good-hearted idiot does not understand these interests, gives nothing and has nothing, which in practice amounts to polite cruelty. So, this is a polite but cruel podcast, so... To the people of the East, it is axiomatic that the basic means of production should belong to the state. That they should be regulated according to the planned economy. Yeah, and that their proceeds should be used for hygienic, cultural, scientific, and artistic ends. It is naive to seek partisans of capitalism in their midst. The something these people the something. I'm looking for something. The something these people look for in the West is certainly not wormed over watchwords of the French Revolution or the American War of Independence. They laugh at the argument that factories and mines should belong to private individuals. Yeah, they laugh at it. They're searching for something. They're searching for something. Well, seems they never find anything. Their search for something springs from a more or less clear understanding of the fact that the new faith is incapable of satisfying the spiritual needs of mankind, for its efforts in that direction have with inexorable regularity turned into caricature. They haven't satisfied the spiritual needs of mankind. If they were forced to formulate what they seek, they would undoubtedly reply that they want a system with a socialist economy, but one in which men need not struggle desperately in the snake-like embrace of the method. Well, yeah, but they get caught in the snake-like embrace of the method, but everybody wants this stuff. I would like to not be caught in the snake-like embrace of the method, so they seek some sign indicating that real cultural values can arise outside the scope of the method, but they must be lasting values geared to the future and therefore not products of obsolete concepts. Yeah, well, your whole podcast is obsolete because this book is like 1951 and it's ridiculous. So your podcast is obsolete concepts. Anything less would serve merely to confirm the method. Yeah, and your method of doing a podcast is the people in the countries of the new faith. Yeah, well, I'm trying to create a new faith by teaching people how to meditate and get out of this rut there. And the people in the countries of the new faith know that only in the West can there appear works that will bear the seeds of hope for the future. Perhaps discoveries no less importante than those of Marx or Darwin have already been perfected in the workrooms of isolated philosophers. But how does one find them? Well, you could look for a podcast. If you find an isolated podcaster, an isolated philosopher, the Eastern intellectual is a severe critic of everything that penetrates to him from the West. Yeah. And they're such severe critics. He has been deceived so often that he does not want cheap consolation, which will eventually prove all the more depressing. The war left him suspicious and highly skilled in unmasking sham and pretense. He has rejected a great many books that he liked before the war, as well as a great many trends in painting or music because they have not stood the test of experience. The work of human thought should withstand the test of brutal, naked reality. If it cannot, it is worthless. Probably only those things are worthwhile which can preserve their validity in the eyes of the man threatened with instant death. Oh, wow. A man is lying under machine gun fire on a street in the embattled city of Gaza Strip, or currently in Ukraine. He looks at the pavement and sees a very music like the cobblestones are standing upright like the quills of a porcupine. Yeah, I still have those 500. I have 522 of all those bullets. That's maybe Mas Bonito. You don't have to wear that wet dress. The other dress had the Tide stain on it. That's Bonito. Oh, you have many, muy bonito festivals. That's pretty. Of course, some more. That's beautiful. Yeah.
Así, me quedó bonito el cabello, un poco pelo.
Yeah, the gray, the color is pretty. You didn't use the shampoo today?
Sí, yo me eché champú.
Oh, the shampoo?
Yo me eché.
The shampoo, the nueva shampoo?
Sí.
That's beautiful.
Yesterday, me eché.
Yeah, thank you for being a beautiful wife. It's lucky to have a beautiful wife. Those that don't have a beautiful wife. I saw so many women and so many in the Amish country, and nobody is as beautiful as my wife. Oh, okay. The bullets hitting against their edges displace and tilt down. The bullets hitting against, yeah. Well, like I said, I still have those 22 shells and 500 bullets. Such moments in the consciousness of a man, judge all poets and philosophers. Let us suppose too, that a certain poet was the hero of the literary cafes. I should be a hero at a literary cafe in a way. Whatever he went, and wherever he went, was regarded with curiosity and awe. They should regard this podcast with curiosity and awe in a literary cafe. Yet his poems, recalled in such a moment, suddenly seem diseased and highbrow. Yeah, the funny thing is, I make them highbrow, but in a way, it's just too damn highbrow. I consider myself highbrow, it's really not highbrow because I'm not really highbrow, and I'm trying to pretend like I'm highbrow, and well, you're never going to be highbrow, even if you read this book. I know you're trying to be. Thank you. If you read books that are highbrow, you think you'll be highbrow. The vision of the cobblestones is unquestionably real, and poetry based on an equally naked experience could survive triumphantly the judgment day of man's illusions in the intellectuals who lived through the atrocities of war. In Eastern Europe, there took place what one might call the elimination of emotional luxuries. Well, I'm trying to eliminate my emotional luxuries right now because psychoanalytic novels incite them to laughter. They consider the literature of erotic complication still popular in the West as trash. Imitation abstract painting bores them. They are hungry, but they want bread, not hors d'oeuvres. Dialectical materialism awakens a response in them because it is earthy. They will willingly espouse a literature and art born outside the sphere of the method, but on condition that it be earthy, strong, and healthy. Yeah, I really don't care for stuff unless it's earthy, strong, and healthy. That's why I'm trying to go outside and exercise and just not drive the car and not go inside and not sit in a chair and go out in the sun and exercise and go kayaking and go play pickleball and all this stuff. Also, you didn't go to any movies, and you're not driving the car. If only they could find it. It is significant that everything in the West that is strong enough for their taste turns on questions of social structure and mass belief. Such books are frequently Stalinist, but even more often anti-Stalinist. A great many of them have read Kostler's Darkness at Noon. A few have been acquainted with Orwell's 1984 because it is both difficult to obtain and dangerous to possess. It is known only to certain members of the inner party. I wonder what's in this Darkness at Noon. And we know it's Orwell's 1984. Why don't you read that or something? I mean, have you really read it recently, or you don't know what it's about, or did you read it? Orwell fascinates them through his insight into details they know well, though his use of Swiftian satire. Such a form of writing is forbidden by the New Faith. Yeah, what's this New Faith? Is that where you believe in Putin or something? Or what's new? What's faith? What's the New Faith? They beyond in socialism as the new faith because allegory by nature manifold and meaning, which almost trespass beyond the prescriptions of socialist realism and the demands of the censor. Even those who know Orwell only by hearsay are amazed that a writer who never lived in Russia should have so keen a perception into its life. The fact that there are writers in the West who understand the functioning of the unusually constructed machine of which they themselves are a part astounds them and argues against the stupidity of the West. So this argues against the stupidity. Are you arguing against the stupidity? Well, I thought that your stupidity argued for the stupidity of the West. Well, I don't know if you were stupid and if you were from the West. Well, this is a stupid podcast. podcast.